I came to this realization, you know, I was talking a lot of injuries, like you go to physical therapy, you do it for 8 weeks and you stop, and there's a start and a stop because a lot of problems have a point A and point B, and we're done and we move on. Well, you and I are a little bit past point A and point B.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it doesn't
The machine's
stop.
Not fixing anymore. It's a matter of now trying to keep the maintenance good enough that the machine will run.
I always try to get people the picture that like certain injuries are like there's a scale, and you're always trying to get back to center. Like even with your own like personal energy as a human, like you're always trying to feel okay and being centered. And I'm trying to feel that way about my body too. And so sometimes, you know, pain pushes you one way and your rehab has to keep you ahead. And if you don't pay attention to it, well, then you don't earn the right to get to use it. And it's a little frustrating because I had the right to use mine however I wanted without having to ask for a long, long time.
Yep.
And I'm not used to needing permission for this.
No, it's a big change, right?
Yeah. So I have to like ask for permission, and I have to punch the clock in order to be able to do anything I want. And I mean, even living day to day, if I don't do any physical therapy, I'm not feeling good.
Right.
And because it'll creep back in. I'm not fixable in some ways, you know. And but I can try to get to normal, and I felt it. And but the harder I want to push my body and my machine, the more severe some things have to be. Now, in some cases, you can't stay ahead. In your sport, you can't stay ahead of the movement that you have to do.
Right.
You know, and then that just stops, you know?
Yep.
And in my sport, I can't do it the way that I did, but I could try to learn a new way. And it's made me such a better coach and such a better teammate. And it's made me a lot better at doing everything that I want to do because I didn't have to learn how to and try how to master that. I was good at it.
Right. You had it.
And so that's where sometimes it's a little bit muddy because it wasn't this lifelong pursuit of like perfection. It was just I showed up and I was good at it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective, man, that it's something you were naturally gifted at and got to kind of do really easily. Like it wasn't hard. And we've talked about it a number of times. Like it really wasn't hard for you to squat or do the weights that you did.
Right.
And it wasn't this like, I put 20 years in this. Like, nah, man, I just was interested and I got really good at it fast.
Yeah, I showed up and there's a lot of things I did right. So don't let me downplay that.
Yeah, of course. Like there's no way to sneak into the numbers that you fucking did. You know what I mean?
And, but it's deplorable how I did. You know?
Yeah, well, just because you could.
So, you know, the other thing about that is, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you show up every day and you didn't know the writing was on the wall that way. And I had goals and they weren't all the goals that I hit. But, you know, Stuart McGill put it in a cool way. He was like, look, here's the deal. Not every mechanic can work on a Ferrari. Okay. If you learn how to work on a Ford Taurus, you're not ready to work on a Ferrari. If you know how to work on a Ferrari, you could handle a Taurus.
Right.
So his thing is if I can work on a Ferrari and we can have our learning be at such a high elevated level on athletes that we work with, it makes it easy to deal with everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. So me being able to deal with myself, people's problems are real easy compared to mine a lot of times.
Right. And I mean, not only that, like there's something that becomes from like you as a coach, right?
Yeah.
Like the athletes you're going to deal with are more likely to be closer to the situation you're in now than the one you showed up with.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, like, the first time I ever saw that just like someone had it was training with Gary Frank.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, his training method was, you know, we did 52 weeks of heavy geared singles with like very little accessory work.
Right.
And it's because that worked for Gary because Gary's a freak.
Yeah.
And it worked for everyone else until they were about 22.
Right.
And then their bodies were like, nope, we can't keep up anymore.
Right.
And so no one else had the fucking skeleton of Gary to be 400 pounds and be able to hold the load and be able to handle the training.
Right. Yeah. I was very lucky to be able to take my experience and then learn from it. A lot of people never learn from it. You've probably met a lot of great athletes that are pretty dumb about their sport.
Dude.
And
look,
the
ultimate
better you are at it,
is
the less you try, the less you learn, the less whatever. And a lot of times, the more naturally gifted you are, you ignore some of those learning points along the way. And that's what I've gotten to fall in love with, trying to get myself back into the sport. And it's gotten to help me. And I'm really careful to only be a master of the things that I think I am. And then everything that I'm not, I stay away from because it's not worth my effort if I suck at it, you know?
Yo, right.
And because there's other people that are good at that. So when it comes to certain things at our gym, we're like very adamant about, no, I coach this, you coach that. Like we're specifically into this. And so Stu McGill and Andrew Locke, both the doctors that I worked with, they're both really encouraging of me helping some other people. And I tread lightly on that because I'm no doctor. And, you know, if it's something where it's a really specific, like point A to point B, then I try to help somebody. If I've had a problem, then typically I've learned the solution.
Sure.
And I've been able to help folks. But it really is pretty amazing. Like I had a girl come in that she had just reactivated her Instagram. She saw I made a post about my back and my back health, and she was intrigued. And she messaged me. Well, she's not a power lifter. She had done some CrossFit. She'd been down for a year. And she hadn't been moving in a year without pain and her foot going numb and these issues. And I said, look, I'm no specialist in this, but I can just show you some of the strategies that I've had to get more comfortable, and we can see if that works for you. And maybe it will, maybe it won't, but let's just see what makes things comfortable.
Right. Let me share what I learned.
Yeah. Just let me open the book, and it's just kind of like you reading this, except we're just going through it together. And, sure enough, like a week later, she's squatting and deadlifting.
No way, dude. That's so good.
She stops her sessions and leaves the gym, which is so hard because she was making so much progress, and it was really, really kind of wild. Like she had not been out of pain in over a year,
right?
Not lifted in a year. And we're doing over 50% of her maxes within 2-3 weeks of just doing some of this stuff with no pain. Now we're living pain free. Hasn't experienced that. So she leaves the gym because she's just nervous for COVID, and we all understand. Yeah. And so she sends, I get a notification that she posted on her story. She went for a mile run.
Whoa, way.
With no pain.
Oh,
and
man.
That's totally rad. So, and it was literally just sharing a little information for about 4 weeks. And all of a sudden now we're back to living life a little better. And it's, man, it's good to feel.
It's silly, right? Because I mean, you've helped athletes reach big PRs and big lifting numbers and stuff like that. But like once you've kind of experienced something with pain and chronic pain and like what a debilitating thing, and then how that fights you upstairs, helping someone out of those woods, that one's important.
Yeah.
Like I'm stoked to help you reach a total and hit some goals, but this is saving your life.
Yeah. I mean, I've got people that started out with a little bit of this and that, little hitch in their giddy up, and they need a little attention to their back. And so we get pain free, and then we start lifting, and then we look back and we're like, holy crap, that didn't take that long.
No. And
now you're hitting PRs, and now, you know, and then they start thanking you for like, you know, hey, I live every day a little better now. Thanks. You know, and
right. Like that's the thing.
Really
like
cool.
even a 10% increase to like your day-to-day life. Like that's the big upgrade that you get from some of the strength training stuff and some of the other knowledge is you learn this vehicle maintenance for your body that like when the check engine light comes on, you kind of know what to fucking do so you can not blow the engine up anymore.
Right.
And it's so valuable to like be able to share that because you've had to figure out how to keep the machine running a long time, especially now when you come out of that, the other side of like this worked really naturally.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, now I have to focus on a thing and every inch is earned.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Dude,
like there's no good way.
Yeah. That's what I really like about, like having like just being younger and like seeing like someone like you who's been in the sport for a long time.
Yeah.
And like has gone through injuries. And even though they've accomplished a lot strength wise, like stepping back and helping younger athletes really like when they hurt themselves, helping them, you know, check their ego, step back and like really truly rehab and like continually doing that. And like just smart, like coaching and like, instead of maybe doing what you did and like pushing through injuries and just being like train harder and like, it'll just work itself out and stuff like that. Like just being smarter. Cause you're like, I'm trying to get you to like longevity and like be able to do this longer, but also feel good and stuff like that. And I can't really say if it's being more like that rather than this, you know, brutal kind of West Side coaching. But like, I think, like I really appreciate, or I really like seeing that, from, you know, people that are like in your situation. It's just, it's just cool to see. And it's like, it's really uplifting for just powerlifting, or it's like really, insight or a good look or whatever you want to say. it's just cool. So
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that like as younger guys come into powerlifting or strength sports, like I remember whenever I got in and I was looking at the generation before me and the guys that I was stoked on, and I'm like, man, they're doing an awful lot of rehab and prehab exercises, and it's easy to write off when you're younger, but like that generation that's already got 10 years in, like pay attention to the thing they're doing, especially if they're the only people still around.
Right.
This is where the road goes. Pretending it doesn't and that you're special is fucking crazy. So like the earlier you can start doing these little things to bulletproof the machine, like even something stupid, like if you're going to bench, like go and hammer a couple sets of 50 with the bar.
Yeah.
Just to build the tendon strength and everything else.
Yep. I mean, my warm-up routine is 30 minutes, which is like a third of my workout of the time I'm at the gym, which I've been completely okay with because I feel great when I start working out and I feel great when I leave.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
that's the biggest change for me is I used to walk in the door and if 400 was on the bar, I would just start.
Right.
And like, I mean, I could like, I'm
the same boat. Yeah.
And like I would start deadlifts at 315. And
why bother?
Like,
well, because it's still 600 pounds under where you're headed. So like what I'm going to do, 135, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So, it's really changed the way that I've acted a lot. And honestly, the hardest thing is like, I'm getting busier and busier and running the gym makes you busier and busier and coaching people. And I feel like I don't have time for all this.
All right. So how do we fix that? How do we get you more time?
So, I've learned that I'm having to attack the things that I hate to do because those are the things you spend the most time worrying about not doing. And if you get them done, then you spend time doing shit you want to do.
For sure.